Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel, A Magical Life with Ayla Hillel. I'm Ayla, and today we're going to be talking about the energy of magic. So let's get started. So my channel is primarily about the energy of magic. We're going to talk about spells and charms and potions and everything magical, paganism, mythology, gods and goddesses, all of that stuff. But what you're going to get a lot of from me is the energy of all of those things. And so what I want to start with, this is actually video 1. My channel is a mess right now because I'm learning how to edit and I'm learning how to make videos. But I wanted to go ahead and get started even though I didn't know those things because I have so much information. So the energy of your magic is very simple, but this lesson on energy is really, really important. If you understand this lesson on energy, then you're going to understand why your magic works. And if your magic is not working, some of this information will help you figure that out as well. So let's start with all things physical. All things physical are not really physical. We perceive them as physical. We all on this realm agree that all things are physical. That way we can come here to this realm and we can have an experience. But in actuality, all things are not physical. So let's start with just a simple understanding of energy. So energy starts with an atom. Physicality starts with an atom. Okay, this is the basic building blocks. There's subatomic particles, but we're not going to go into that because I feel like for the sake of this lesson, the most important thing is that you have an understanding of what makes physicalness, what makes this realm that we're in. So let's start with the atom. An atom looks like this. Okay, very simple. Okay, so that we have the protons and the neutrons and the electrons, and they're all circling and orbiting the center. Okay, and I believe that action, all of that circulating and orbiting is energy. I believe that's where the energy comes from. Now, an atom will have energy. Let's talk about the physical body for a minute. The atom will have energy as long as the spirit is in the body. So your atoms that make up your body are motivated and moved by your spirit present in your body. Okay, so an atom makes up a cell, speaking in terms of our body still. An atom makes up a cell. Here's what a cell looks like. So the cells make up tissue. Here's what tissue looks like. A rough idea of what tissue looks like. Okay, so the atoms make up the cells, make up the tissues, make up the organs that make up our systems. Okay, we have various systems inside of our body. Now, I think, I don't want to say I believe, but I think from a mystical point of view that when we are sick, when we are in darkness or negativity, or we have regret or bitterness or anger or any of those negative things going on, if we're constantly fighting with a family member, if we believe things about us that are negative, I believe that that energy that's inside of that atom slows down. Maybe not even on a physical level, but on a mystical level, on a spiritual level, that that energy slows down. And so our magic at that point becomes very slow as well. Maybe we don't feel as connected to it. Maybe we don't feel as powerful. Any number of things could result from this slowing down. And because our atoms make up the cells, make up the tissues, make up the organs, make up the systems, everything inside of us is going to be affected by that negativity. Now, this applies not just to our bodies, but in situations outside of us. Situations outside of us are also influenced by, first, our thoughts, which create a feeling, and that feeling creates our life. Everything that exists on this planet is affected by our thoughts and our feelings, particularly in your life. You create your health. And I've had people say to me, and please don't think that I'm judging, because I'm not. I've had people say to me, oh, you think I like this? You think I created this? No, sweetie, no, that's not what I think. What I think is that we get into vibrational energy patterns. You've seen people say, oh, I'm going to give up on relationships because every relationship I've ever had was bad. Men and women both do this. I'm not going to try anymore. Relationships are bad. That is an energy pattern. So you meet a new person, you think, okay, well, maybe this is it. You meet a new person, you start off with them, and it goes bad. Because you're dwelling in that energy pattern, okay? And I've talked about this before, and you're going to hear me talk about this a lot. This is what we call the default setting. I told you the story about the man who didn't understand why he woke up that morning having such positive, happy thoughts. And the minute he stepped out the door to go to his day, everything turned bad. Everything that could happen bad to him happened to him. And he turned around to me and said, I don't understand. I don't understand why. I mean, you're always saying, because I'm always saying, that these positive thoughts create positive days, create positive health, create positive relationships. Okay, so here's a concept you're going to hear from me a lot. And I started calling it this, but I'm sure I wasn't the only one who started calling it this. But we have a default setting, okay? If you dwell primarily in the negative, you're going to be in vibrational resonance with everything negative. If you dwell primarily in the positive, then that's going to be your vibrational resonance, and you're going to attract those things to you that are positive. But now listen, it takes a little bit of resetting this default setting, okay? You don't just wake up one morning and have a bunch of happy thoughts and think your day is going to be great. It took me a year to change my default setting of vigilant pivoting. Now, pivoting, Abraham Hicks talks about pivoting. This is a vibrational reset is what this is. So pivoting is where, people cut you off in traffic. Instead of yelling and becoming so angry at them that the veins on the side of your face are popping out, wish them a happy day. And I know this feels weird at first. I had a student tell me, this pivoting thing you're teaching us makes me sick at my stomach. I can imagine, because once we get into a certain vibrational resonance or a default setting, we're comfortable there. We stay there and we're comfortable there. And so you can get out of that place, but to get out of that place takes a vigilant effort over a period of time. Okay. Now, if you stick with this reset of your vibration and trying to have positive thoughts when something negative happens, trying to find the upside of a situation that's not so great, eventually you're going to get stuck there. And I don't mean stuck in a negative sense. We'll use that word negatively. That will become your default setting. That will become the new program for you. So that's why energy is so important to your magic. Energy is your magic. Energy is your magic. The vibration, light, and energy of your thoughts and your words and your actions. Now, any one of these, thought, words, or actions, carries with it a powerful energy. This is why we do incantations in our spells. Those are powerful words. And we have the action of the spell, and we have the meditation of what it is that we're trying to create in our life. You've heard that old saying, fake it till you make it. Well, this is the resetting of your vibrational resonance. And I'm not saying that we ignore when things happen in our life that needs our attention. No, go and take care of your business. Go and take care of your business. But don't allow it to upset you. Don't allow it to drag your vibration back down into the mud where you feel powerless, where you feel weak. It's kind of like this big circle, you know. If you feel powerless and you feel weak, then you're going to have a hard time wrangling the energy of your thoughts and your words and your actions. If you have a hard time controlling your thoughts and your words and your actions, it's going to make you feel powerless and weak. You see what I'm saying? So we get into this spiral, you know, and it's a downward spiral. Trust me, it's a downward spiral. I know that many of you are suffering from mental illness. I had mental illness. I was mentally ill, and I didn't realize that I had used my magic, because I didn't even know at the time I was magical, but I had used my magic to heal myself. And one of the really powerful things for me was the vibration of meditation. And I harp on this. I harp on meditation. You can ask any of my students. They will tell you that my big spiel is meditation. And one of the reasons why, there's many reasons why I think meditation needs to be a magical person's number one tool. But one of the main reasons why is that meditation suspends all negativity. Meditation suspends all negativity. When you are in that place of interfacing with the divine, when you have those good chemicals moving through your body that comes from meditation out of our brain, you are suspending the vibration of negativity. Okay. So you hear this channel is about energy, it's about meditation, it's about magic, and it's about paganism. But to me, my magic became very rich when I really started understanding the energy, the energy of magic. Now, that was an interesting story because I had a feeling. And I didn't know what the feeling was. And the feeling felt like I needed to ask a question, but I didn't even know what the question was. And so I just kept sitting with it, and I was already meditating. I had been meditating for years. And so I kept bringing it into my meditation that I'm here, I'm listening, I'm being quiet. And, oh, and by the way, could you help me understand what this thing is that I'm feeling? And pretty soon it came into my consciousness, into my awareness, that I had a question. I really did have a question. The question was about how magic works. I had been practicing magic for several years, but I really didn't have an understanding of how it worked. I had healed my mental illness with my meditation. I didn't understand that either. Um, so I got on the internet and I just sifted. I just sifted looking for anybody or anything that could explain to me what magic actually was. At that moment, I had no idea about vibration, light, and energy. I had no idea about any of that. I came across M.R. Frank's The Universe in Alternate Realities book. It's a little teeny tiny skinny book. I think there's 65 pages. Of those pages, I probably understood less than 0.5%. The book really wasn't user friendly. And M.R. Franks is an attorney in the middle, maybe, or even back east someplace. I'm not really sure. But I didn't understand the book. I understood just enough that I was sparked. So I said, okay. I start talking to my others, my angels and dragons and fairies and guides, and I'm like, okay, so there is a question here. I want to know how magic works. Well, the next thing that happened was a new friend pushed a book into my hand. And it was Abraham Hicks' Ask and It Is Given. And interestingly enough, in the introduction to this book, they say these are not occult practices. Okay, but it was for me, and it set me on a course of really understanding how magic works. The next thing, a friend gave me a book, William Keith's The Science of the Craft. I don't know if it's still in print. I know that it had gone out of print for a little while. I don't know if it came back into print. It's a pretty thick book. He's a high priest back east, and the book is very user-friendly, and so is Ask and It Is Given. Very delightful to read. Both books were very delightful to read. After that, I came into the knowledge of the movie What the Bleep. I've already mentioned that, and The Secret. And at that point, I felt like my knowledge was complete to answer my question. What is magic? Why does it work? And from that place, I was able to draw a lot of conclusions about what I saw around me. And one of the things that I noticed was that we as human beings do not focus enough on our vibration, on feeling good, on looking for those things that delight us. So how do we change our vibration? That becomes the next big question. And, like I said, I know that a lot of you are struggling with mental illness. I know that a lot of you are struggling with physical illness. But what has to happen here in order for you to raise your vibration to a powerfully magical place is that we have to let the old stories go. A lot of us are still thinking about things that happened to us years ago. Now, this is called a process. Humans process. So my advice, if you are processing, is, keep processing, because you're not finished with that until you're done processing it. You have to process it. But look forward to that time, and maybe even while you're processing, start practicing, start a gratitude practice where you can look around in your life, because I don't care what you're processing. There's good stuff in your life. Maybe you have one friend that cheers you up. I tell people, be grateful for your comfy bed. Be grateful for your comfortable pillow. We don't think of these things. We think, oh, this is just standard in life. Everybody has this. Yeah, but how cool. First of all, not everybody has it, and you do, so that's really cool. But second of all, um, those little things is what makes up our life. Having a comfy place to sit, or having nourishing food to eat. Um, these are really important things. So we can change up our vibration by really looking around us. I used to tell my students, what I want you to do is when you wake up in the morning, roll over in bed and take a deep breath. Get in touch with your divine breath. Yes, your breath is divine. I know you're probably thinking this is an everyday thing, everybody has it. But you know what? You woke up this morning breathing. How totally awesome is that? So I would tell my students, I want you to roll over in bed, take a deep breath, and then I want you to think of a minimum of 3 things that you are grateful for. And try to make them different things each day. Gratitude will, I don't care what kind of illness you're struggling with, I don't care what kind of familial situation you're struggling with, gratitude will bump your vibration up. And let me tell you something about issues with your family. Think about this for a moment. You have a family. It's hard to believe that there are people in this world who don't have a family, who don't have children, who don't have cousins and uncles and aunts and maybe a spouse. But there are people who do not have, and I know this sounds a lot like, well, there are starving children in China, so clean your plate. I know it sounds a lot like that, but be grateful for what you have. If you start a gratitude practice and you are grateful for what you have, in a couple of days, you are going to see that you start to feel better in your struggle with whatever illness, in your struggle with whatever situation. And start to look at things from the point of view of, I get to do this. I get to do this, not I have to do this. I get to do this. There's this situation going on in my family, and it's really upsetting my family. And I get the honor and the privilege of being in this life with these people, and we're going to figure this out. Okay, I know that's really optimistic. But later on in another video, we're going to talk about the emotional guidance scale and how to get from way down here to way up here. There's a way. So gratitude is one of the main ways that you can raise your vibration. It's meditation is the number one way you can raise your vibration. Every time something happens and you feel afraid, now see, fear, doubt, guilt, and shame. Write those down. Fear, doubt, guilt, and shame are the number one thing that will knock your vibration into the mud. Okay, so every time you start to feel fear, look for an easier emotion. Maybe you're not afraid anymore, but you're kind of reserving your judgment. You're standing back. You're going to see what's going to happen. Okay, so fear, doubt, guilt, and shame. Those are the biggies. So try to look for the other side of those emotions. Self-hatred, self-doubt, low self-esteem. These are things that will knock your vibration into the mud. And the way we overcome that is like everything magical. You have to practice. Okay? You have to feel worthy. What does that feel like to you? What does it feel like? Sit down for a minute. Suspend all of your negativity about yourself for one moment. And play a game of pretend. What does it feel like? Now, my therapist, when I was mentally ill, I was going to psychotherapy, and my therapist said to me one day, what would you say about Ayla if you were Ayla's best friend? And I started crying because that was a perspective. that I hadn't considered before. So think about this for a moment. Think about what you would say about yourself if you were your best friend. I never lost that perspective. I never lost those ideas in that moment of what I would say about myself if I was my best friend. This is how you want to think about yourself. This is how you want to think about yourself. You are your best friend. If you look at every negative thing that you feel about yourself, I bet you will find out that most of it came from the outside of you. Other people, other situations. Sometimes we get into situations where we draw our own conclusions. We walked into a situation and the situation didn't go just right. Maybe we didn't feel welcome in that situation. And what's the first thing you think? The first thing you think is, oh, they don't like me. When 98% of the time, that's not the truth. 98% of the time, when we go into a situation where we don't feel welcome, that situation's not about us. What is going on in that situation with those people is not about us. So I tend to just leave. If I'm in a situation where I don't feel welcome, where something's going on, some weird energy's there and I don't understand it, I just leave, and I don't think about it. I don't spend any more time dwelling on that, thinking, wow, they really didn't like me there. Okay, move on. Whatever that was about, it probably wasn't about me. So self-loathing, I mean, we're going to get into the divine self. The next video that I'm going to make is the divine self. And the divine self is where I illustrate to you why I know that you are God. And what I mean by you are God is you're not the sum total of God. You're not the grand and glorious whatever it is, the dude, the one. You are an aspect of God. You are made out of the same material, the same spiritual, genetic, DNA material. I like to call it God goo, because God is this great, big, huge energy, and it created using its own energy. And we're going to get into that later. But if you hate yourself, and if you're always in a self-deprecating place, that's not going to help your relationship with the divine at all. It's not going to help your magic. It's going to knock your magic right into the mud. So I'm not being flippant about this, and I'm not saying you got to love yourself. Get on with it. It's a practice. It's a practice. I know, because I was there. And it wasn't until my therapist asked me the question, what would your best friend say about you? What if you were Ayla's best friend? What would you say about her? Oh my gosh. While I was mentally ill, I didn't know myself very well. If somebody said, tell me about Ayla, I don't know. What do you want to know? Just ask a question. I don't know. After that, if somebody said, tell me about Ayla, I had something to say. I knew Ayla. While I was ill, I didn't know Ayla. And so there's a lot of power. One of the things that we always say in the craft is, witch, know thyself. There's a lot of power in knowing yourself. There's a lot of power in knowing what you have inside of you. And this raises your vibration through the ceiling. Because from that place, from that healed place of knowing yourself, loving yourself, you can love other people, and you can love them genuinely. And when they see how much you love yourself and how much you love them, you give them permission to also love themselves. So it's this big round circle chasing our tail that we do. You've seen the Ouroboros eating his tail. That's what we're doing here. It's like, I love me, so I love you, and you love you, so you can love the next guy. And we heal the world that way. We raise our vibration. We raise our own vibration to understand the world around us and to function in our magic and to function in our health. So let me look at my notes here. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have for today. Please push the like button and subscribe and leave a message down below. And if I left anything out of this energy lesson, this is a very simple, this is not a science lesson, this is a magic lesson. And if I left anything out of this from a magical, mystical point of view, please leave a message down below. Respectful as ever. And thank you. Blessed be.